If you know anything about aggressive inline skating, you'll know that it is heavily dominated by grind tricks. I would argue that it is about 95% grinds to 5% non-grind tricks. This is in stark contrast to other action sports, which seem to have a more balanced division between non-grind tricks and grind tricks. So why isn't rollerblading like this? Why is it the case that aggressive rollerblading is all about grinds? I find it very interesting that rollerblading was already quite popular before the first ever frontside grind was even landed by Chris Edwards. I have some theories and a rant as to why I think rollerblading dives so hard into grinds, but first you need to hear my blading backstory. So I started rollerblading in around 2010, right when rollerblading was dying out and being the quietest it had ever been. But despite this, I still managed to go through all the fashion trends that the OG bladers did. Even though I could have skipped the cringe ones, I for some reason went through the same motions as everyone else. What got me into aggressive skating though was some vert skating that I saw on YouTube. And although I thought the grinds were cool, it was ultimately the air tricks that caught my attention. I eventually went on to find some street skating clips from Alex Brosco, and I turned into more of a street park skater that I am today, and ultimately developed my passion for grinding like every other rollerblader we have today. But my main point I'm trying to make here is I think that grinds are not that inviting to non-bladers. I think the air tricks and the other tricks outside of grinds are better for getting people interested in the sport. And I think the fact that we're diving so hard into grinds is really hurting blading's growth. I have this memory that really stuck with me, and it was when one of my scootering homies got into blading for a few months. We were sitting down watching rollerblading edits, and he was telling me that he finds them hard to watch and that they're kind of boring. I specifically remember him telling me that it's just all grinds. And if you don't know or haven't tried to do the grinds yourself, all grinds kind of look the same, making it a lot more boring to watch. Now, I do not think we should base our skating around what non-bladers think is cool. Grinds are fun as hell. They're super challenging and fun to do, and I enjoy doing them. They're still mostly what I do, and they definitely should have a big part in rollerblading. But I don't think we should be limiting ourselves to just doing grinds. I think there's a whole room outside of grinds in blading that just hasn't been explored at all, because all the core rollerbladers only care about grinds. Now, I think really if we explored this outside of grinds area of rollerblading, we could bring a lot more people in and get a lot more attention to rollerblading, make it look a bit more inviting and a bit more interesting to look at. Moving on to my theory as to why rollerblading dove so heavily into grinds, I really think that it was in response to skateboarding's campaign of calling rollerblading gay, that homophobic rhetoric that we've all heard way too many times. I think as a response and as to counter this image that skateboarding was putting on us, rollerblading did tricks that were meant to impress skateboarding, stuff that was hard and impressive on a skateboard, which ultimately was grinds, hammers, and scary stuff like that, grinding roofs to drops, stuff that would be insane on a skateboard, and is insane on blading. No credit taken away from that. I think we leaned into grinds because of that reason and tried to separate ourselves from all the actual kind of rollerblading, inline skating parts of rollerblading. We called the inline skating part of rollerblading the gay part, and we were doing the cool part, and really tried to draw the line in the sand there just to separate us from that mindset, which I think was a really bad thing to do ultimately in all ways. It was shooting ourselves in the foot and letting the skateboarders win with their homophobic rhetoric that they put on rollerblading. It was, we're not gay. The gay ones are the speed skaters, the Rick skaters, all these people that don't do grinds. To make that separation even more clear, we wouldn't do any tricks that weren't grinds. It was all, if you were doing like a monorail, if you were just skating around, you couldn't do that anymore. That was no longer cool. You had to do grinds. This obviously made most rollerbladers do grinds, which in turn actually affect how our skates were designed. They were now designed with grinding as a priority. And over the years, they got easier and easier for grinds, but worse and worse for skating. We made the sole plates bigger, the wheels smaller, the groove, the split between the wheels bigger. Here's an example here. These are two skates that came out recently. But this, I think, you've seen my review of this, you know what I think of this skate. But this, I think, is the ultimate example of that. This is a massive sole plate here. It has a good groove and stuff, but it's a really floppy, big, chunky skate. You can barely turn on without slipping over. Whereas if we go back to, here's the Rossi's 1992. This is more what the skates that rollerblading kind of started on were like. It has 72 mil wheels, which is so much faster than 60 mil. It has a very slim foot-shaped boot so that you can turn without slipping over. And grinds were really hard on these, but skating was still fun. And all we've done by making the skate worse for skating is made fish brain an easy trick, you know, when in reality that should be a very hard trick to do. And I'm taking that word for word from my homie City Blades, whose video was the first one to really open my eyes to this. In his video, he mentioned the fact that even if all you want to do is go to a skate park and grind a ledge, if you put together all the time you're spending on your skates on that day, you are spending a lot more time rolling around versus doing grinds. So it makes no sense to prioritize a skate so much for grinding versus the rolling around. When you're doing more rolling around, why make the rolling around so much worse? It should be more of a middle ground, you know? To give you an outside perspective of this, the one that comes to mind for me, it would be like if BMXers put meter wide pegs on both sides of the bike, right? To make grinds easier. But in turn, they could now no longer literally turn tight or do any kind of flip tricks, I don't know what you call it, like bar spins, tail whips, just at the expense of doing more grinds. The sport will be completely different, you know, and that's essentially what we've done with the way that skates are made these days. You're so free on rollerblades. You're not limited by the equipment you're using. It's literally attached to you and it's on your feet. It doesn't change like original kind of movement. The non-grinding part should be crazy. I'm surprised there isn't more kind of parkour influence in core rollerblading, as well as like even like flat ground, like flips on the ground. I'm surprised that's not a thing. Is it something that is definitely humanly possible, but just has never caught on in blading? Bit of a tangent there. Also, this is a voiceover, and why the hell does it always sound so different? Like I'm literally recording with the same mic, but the fact that I don't have the camera on me right now makes me sound different. Anyway, I don't know. I really think that if skateboarding didn't go on this campaign to ruin rollerblading's image, that rollerblading would be in a completely different position today, and the skates would be a completely different design. They would have bigger wheels, they'd have smaller sole plates, and grinding wouldn't be 90% of what we do. I think we'd see a lot more wizard skating stuff like gazelles, we'd see more monorolls, we'd see more manuals, and would see better use of skate parks and obstacles. It won't all just be going to like a rail or a ledge. It'd be a lot more creative and interesting to look at. Of course, I could be completely wrong about this. I am a new age blader despite how old I am right now. But I really can't emphasize how much skating the Razor shifts, as well as skating my first pair of free skates, and even aggressive skating in the Impala skates really opened my eyes to the downsides of the modern aggressive skate and how limiting aggressive rollerblading as a sport is right now. Aggressive rollerblading does seem to be heading in the direction of exploring this world outside of grinds, with bladers like Dominic Bruce, Michael Witzman really blowing up recently and they're doing skating that isn't just focused on grinds. It's got some wizard skating incorporated, and it's really exploring the other part of rollerblading that's been neglected for years now. Austin Paz also made a video recently which inspired me to talk about this here, where he talked about how his skating has changed over the last few years from one sentence, which is very similar to the one that changed my mind too, from City Blades. It was a big reflection moment for me seeing that Austin Paz video though, because I had my mind changed about this years ago by City Blades video, but yet when I look back at my skating now, it's all I want to do is grind still. Like I go to a skate park, I go to the ledge to do grinds. I've still limited myself into this box, and I find it hard to branch outside of it. Like if I go to a new park, grinds is where I feel comfortable. If I trying to leave grinds for a bit, then I feel a lot worse and it's a lot more intimidating. So I still have a long way to go myself to even kind of lead by example and explore this side of rollerblading. But anyway, I'd love to know your theories as to why rollerblading focuses so hard on grinding. And maybe in your next session, you should think about going outside the box of grinds and see what you can come up with. Because I know you guys are a lot more creative than me. I want to give a massive thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. And also they got early access to this one. So if you're seeing this, it means they okayed it and it wasn't too wrong. So, yeah, anyway, hope you get to go for a skate. Thanks for watching, and make rollerblading non-grinding.